This is going to sound ridiculous. A few weeks ago, I had an email sitting in my inbox for 3 days. Not because I didn't know what to say, not because I was busy, not because it was difficult. In fact, I already knew exactly what I wanted to write. I'd basically written the whole thing in my head. But somehow, the email never got sent. And as I sat there staring at it, I had this sudden, overwhelming wave of deja vu. Because if you've ever had an email, a phone call, a bill, or some random task sitting there for days, even though it should only take a few minutes, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. From the outside, it looks like laziness, but from the inside, it feels completely different. It's like there's a gap between what you want to do and what actually happens. And the weird part is, it took this tiny email to make me realize that this exact gap has been quietly running my entire life. For years, I thought there was something wrong with me. Even when I was younger, letters would arrive through the door and I would just leave them sitting there. Sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks. And it's not because I couldn't read them. It's not because I didn't understand them. I just didn't want to deal with them. Making appointments, replying to messages, sorting paperwork, scheduling things, admin, the boring stuff. None of it was difficult, but all of it felt strangely heavy. Like there was some invisible force pushing back at me. And honestly, that's the best way I can describe it. Friction. The task itself isn't the problem. Getting started is the problem. Now, here's where things get interesting. Most people assume the solution is more discipline. Maybe, sometimes. But when ChatGPT came out, something strange happened. A lot of the things I used to avoid suddenly became easier. Not because AI did them for me, because AI helped me start them. That's the important difference. One example is email. I don't even deal with my email the same way I used to anymore. AI helps audit it for me. It gives me a summary of what's important, what needs action, and what can wait. Then, at certain points during the day, I can get a brief overview instead of staring at a wall of emails. And that's the interesting part. I still understand my emails perfectly fine. The problem was never understanding them. The problem was opening them, sorting them, deciding what mattered, and actually doing something about them. AI helps me with that part. It helps turn a pile of information into a clear next step. And once I noticed that, I started seeing the same pattern everywhere. Scheduling, planning, organization, projects, content creation, even my day-to-day life. And now I have systems that help remind me about appointments, not just notifications, actual systems that talk back. Because a notification appearing on my screen isn't always enough. My brain is very good at ignoring those. But interaction feels different. Conversation feels different. Something that actively pulls my attention works far better than another silent reminder. Then I started noticing the same thing with other parts of my life. I have a robot vacuum cleaner. Now, I know that's not AI, but bear with me. Most people look at a robot vacuum cleaner and think convenience. I look at it and I think one less thing competing for my attention. One less thing sitting in the back of my head. One less unfinished task quietly draining mental energy. And that's when something clicked. Maybe the problem was never intelligence. Maybe the problem was friction. Because I've never struggled with ideas. If anything, I've always had too many. Ideas for videos, ideas for businesses, ideas for projects, ideas for things I want to learn, ideas for rabbit holes I probably shouldn't be going down. The problem was never generating thoughts. The problem has been capturing them, organizing them, doing something with them, turning them into reality. That's one of the reasons I even built my own second brain system. Brain dumps, knowledge maps, repositories, weekly briefs, AI assistants. Systems that help me keep track of things that would otherwise disappear into the void. And honestly, people sometimes look at systems like that and think productivity. I don't. To me, they feel more like scaffolding, a support structure, something that helps hold things together. The more I thought about it, the more AI started looking less like a tool and more like a cognitive scaffolding. Not thinking for me, supporting my thinking. Not replacing my brain, but helping my brain reach the real world. Because the ideas were already there. The thoughts were already there. The plans were already there. AI just helped them cross the finish line. And that's where things start getting uncomfortable. Because if AI helps someone organize their thoughts, structure their communication, manage their schedule, rewrite their messy ideas into something clear, is it helping them express themselves, or is it helping them mask themselves? Think about it. When we use these tools to smooth out our rough edges, we aren't just sending information. We are running our minds through a filter. We are taking a thought that is wild, unique, and maybe a little chaotic, and we're asking an algorithm to make it look standard, to make it look professional, make it look normal. For some people, that feels like a relief. It's a way to finally fit into a world built for linear minds. But there is a quiet trade-off happening here. If you use a machine to translate your soul into standard corporate English just to cross the finish line, who is the world actually interacting with? You or a prosthetic? I genuinely don't know. And I think that's a much more interesting question than whether AI is making people smarter or dumber. Because for some people, AI isn't creating thoughts, it's translating them. It's taking something that's trapped in the head and helping it exist in the world. And maybe that's why I don't see AI as a shortcut. A shortcut skips the work. This doesn't feel like skipping the work. It feels like removing the friction that stopped the work from happening in the first place. Title of the video is AI is not a shortcut, it's a prosthetic. And the more I think about it, the more I think that's true. Not because AI is doing the thinking for me, but because it's helping me do things that used to get stuck somewhere between intention and action. The email gets sent, the appointment gets remembered, the idea gets captured, The project gets started. The bill gets opened. The thought actually reaches reality. And honestly, that's where things start getting weird. Because if a tool helps you see, we call it glasses. If a tool helps you hear, we call it hearing aid. If a tool helps you move, we call it prosthetic. But what do we call a tool that helps you think? Or maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe the real question is, at what point does a tool stop being a tool? Because my phone already remembers things I forget. My calendar already knows where I'm supposed to be. My second brain stores ideas that would have disappeared years ago. And now AI helps me organize, prioritize, plan, and execute. So where exactly do I end? And where does the system begin? I don't know. But I haven't been able to stop thinking about it.